Shocking transfer portal exits from Big Ten teams. We got four of well, we have five, but we're gonna put the Damon Williams one and his own video as well if I have enough time to talk about it. So we'll see. Watch this one, and if there's five in here, you'll get five. If there's four, then know that there's another Damon Williams video that you can go check out there. So four Big Ten players that it really was kind of crazy to fans. Now some of these, maybe it wasn't as crazy, but some of these were not things that fans were expecting. I do want to say that this does suck for these fans. I take no joy in talking about this, but it is news we need to talk about, and I do think people find it interesting talking about, what is the team going to do to replace them, where might the player go, that kind of stuff. And so we're going to talk about it, but this isn't something that I enjoy. Quite honestly, stuff like this is one of the reasons why I've been turned off of college basketball a little bit more recently with the NBA players coming back and pro players and stuff like that. Still watch basketball, I still enjoy it, but there is kind of some stuff there that makes me not enjoy it as much. And if this kind of stuff continues to happen, it's just going to continue to be really, really bad for the sport. So these are shocking, but I am by no means saying these are devastating to a certain team or anything like that, because I think all of these teams can come through in these situations. But I also don't think that every single team, is in the best situation here. It's just surprising, but not necessarily devastating. I'll let you be the one making the decision. You make the decision in the comment section for me if it is devastating or just shocking for your team. Give me your thoughts on these guys. So the first one here is obviously Koen Entringer. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. Koen Entringer, he is from Ann Arbor, Walled Lake Western High School in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He played safety. He was a junior last year for Iowa. Entringer was a team captain, 73 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and he graded out as the 26th best safety on PFF in the Big Ten and 2025. Now, there's a lot of speculation on why Entringer, was wanting to leave Iowa, and there's even some speculation that last season he was planning to leave Iowa, but the injury happened, and that kind of impacted things and wasn't going to allow him to maybe go to as good of a program. And so, not only this year was he playing, obviously, for Iowa to do well, but there is a rumor out there that, and I'm not saying I believe this rumor, I'm just giving you the idea that's out there, so that way you're informed. But there is a rumor out there that he was planning to leave Iowa before. He just did not think he had enough stock to go to a larger program that might set himself up on a better stage to improve his draft stock. In addition to wanting to improve his draft stock, that comes with playing more high profile games against better opponents. And so obviously his thought process there is I've been very well developed at Iowa, and from all these rumors and everything, there's no indication of him playing poorly on purpose or not being invested this season. So I don't want to turn Iowa fans against him, but that is kind of the rumor that's out there, and it makes sense. Iowa this season had a very good chance to get to the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for them, but with him wanting to maybe play on a bigger stage, get to the playoffs, something like that, maybe improve his draft stock, that kind of seems to be what the motivational factors are here. In terms of where Entringer will go, Michigan State could be a possibility. Pat Fitzgerald was working with Iowa, and so there could have been a relationship connected there. Just plain Michigan could be a place. Family. He has a family member that works at Michigan. He's from Ann Arbor, well, in the Ann Arbor area there at Michigan. So this could be a likely landing spot for him, either in Michigan, at Michigan, or maybe at Michigan State. I find it hard to believe he would go to Michigan State if he has a family member that works at Michigan, but just because you work the job there doesn't always mean you have to be a diehard fan of it. So who knows? We'll see what happens there. And then I also think that Ohio State is another team that probably needs to be mentioned here as well. It's not uncommon to see guys from Columbus go up to Ann Arbor. It's not uncommon to see guys from the state of Michigan, maybe the Ann Arbor area, come down to Ohio State as well. And if Entringer really does want to, have a chance at a national championship and play on the biggest stage, obviously Michigan is going to be there as well. But they're likely to be in the playoffs or I want to say likely. They have a very good shot at being in the playoffs. Ohio State is likely to be in the playoffs, and so that would work out there. So apparently the staff has been prepared for all different kinds of things. The Iowa staff was talking about the portal, saying, at this point, you got to expect these surprises. You got to be ready with your guys. And I do think that there's a few different names that Iowa might go after here. Obviously, if they find an FCS guy they really like, they might go that route. Ashlyn Barker from Florida State, he is from the state of Iowa. He might be somebody. He's in the transfer portal currently. Chris Bracey from Memphis might be another guy who's higher rated in the transfer. Well, not super highly rated, but he is garnering interest from other Power 4 schools out there. So Iowa, they might go out there and get him. And then Tyler Brown, good season this year at James Madison. He might be another player that goes, that Iowa shows some interest in as well. All right, next one, Quincy Porter, Ohio State from Bergen Catholic out of New Jersey. Wide receiver, was a freshman this year. Only played in 4 games, only had 4 catches, but you look at that, he did have an injury for most of the season, and that is believed to have impacted things. And I've seen Quincy Porter, I haven't personally seen him, but I know people who have seen Quincy Porter on the sidelines of Ohio State games, and he does appear to actually have an injury. This was not an indication of, he wanted to portal all season long, and so he was quote unquote injured or anything like that. Very likely he was injured. And this is something that honestly, like we shouldn't be all that shocked by. I think Ohio State fans are pretty shocked by it because Quincy Porter was going to have an opportunity to play quite a bit next season. But when you really look at this Ohio State wide receiver room, your top 3 is pretty much set. Jeremiah Smith, Chris Henry Jr., and Brandon Inniss are going to be your top 3 guys. Regardless of what happened with Quincy Porter, Chris Henry Jr. is getting paid too much to not start for this team at Ohio State next season. And there's a thought process that Quincy Porter might have wanted some more money because he saw an elevated role for himself or something moving forward. I think the money stuff is kind of an excuse sometimes, so I don't always like to reference it, but it is a rumor out there, and so I figure I probably do need to bring that up. But I think the Chris Henry Jr. stuff here was probably the more determining factor. In terms of where he'll go, he took an unofficial visit to Penn State very late in the process, so you might see Penn State, but James Franklin's no longer there, so maybe he looks into Virginia Tech. They're also on the coast over there. Michigan could be a place, as he was also contemplating Michigan as well. Didn't sound like things went all that well with Michigan when he visited there, but who knows? We'll see. Miami, a team that could use a wide receiver. Maryland over there on that side. Oregon has always liked getting involved with Ohio State wide receivers, so maybe they came in and said, hey, we'll pay you some more money. Who knows? And then Oklahoma was another team that was deep into his recruitment that you might see going there. So in terms of Ohio State and what they do next, they're good. They got Chris Henry Jr. Obviously losing Porter stinks, but you got Hanked in there and everything else. I think Ohio State's gonna be just fine continuing to recruit wide receivers, and they have some pretty good wide receiver depth in that room as well. That I think they're gonna be just fine. Obviously, if an injury happens this year or something, and Quincy Porter isn't there, that will be felt. But overall, I think Ohio State, even with Brian Hartline gone, very good wide receiver room. I think they're gonna be just fine. Third one, Jordan Young there at Michigan. Jordan Young from Monroe, North Carolina, safety, freshman this year, played in 10 games, had 15 tackles, 3 pass deflections, was the 26th graded safety on PFF. That might be incorrect. Hold on. No, it is not incorrect. 26th PFF grade of freshman safety in the Big Ten. So I thought I had the wrong number there because it was the same as the last safety. So maybe I did a copy and paste there incorrectly. But no. In terms of why did he exit, Sam Webb over there with 24/7, he's been posting that it sounds like it's because Michigan had to either choose to pay either Jordan Young or Andrew Marsh. I make sure you know that it's Sam Webb because I'm not always sure if I trust the sourcing on that, just because of Sam Webb and him not always being the most reliable insider there at Michigan. And in my opinion, I'm not saying it has to be anybody else's opinion, but in my opinion, not always the best reliable insider there. So we'll see. Jordan Young, you hear all the things about resources at Michigan. I don't personally think it was probably a resource issue. I probably think that maybe Kyle Whittingham just maybe saw other guys that he was going to have above Jordan Young, and maybe he just didn't want to pay Jordan Young as much as Jordan Young wanted to get paid, or maybe those in charge didn't see him as valuable as maybe he saw himself valued there. So if what Sam Webb is saying is true, that's great news for Michigan because it means Andrew Marsh is probably locked up. They probably made the decision to keep Andrew Marsh and utilize the money for him. So that's great. In terms of where Jordan Young will go, he's a former Clemson commit. He was very close to committing to NC State. In fact, he actually had a crystal ball for NC State. And then I could see Florida State as well. They're very active with some of these young players like this. Florida State kind of goes after this style of player, and he was recruited by them as well. I could see that possibly happening. And in terms of what Michigan can do, get Teo Johnson there. Teo Johnson, former safety from Utah. There's plenty of they should have plenty of other NIL to be able to go around. Pay another guy from the portal, but if I was there at Michigan, I'd be starting with Teo Johnson there, the transfer from Utah. And then finally, our shocking one, DeJuan Lane from Penn State out of Baltimore, Maryland safety. He was a sophomore this year, played in 12 games. He did start 2 games, but 29 tackles, 1 pass deflection, one sack, 31st PFF grade among safeties in the Big Ten. In terms of why did he enter, sounds like Lane, it was kind of being pushed out a little bit. Maybe not. They told him to leave, obviously, but it sounds like the Iowa State safeties are coming in. And there may have been a conversation at some point, or maybe Lane just saw the writing on the wall of they have these Iowa State safeties coming in. They know who they want to go with, and so I could see Lane possibly going to Notre Dame. They were probably the closest ones in his recruitment coming out of high school. Notre Dame is going in the portal a little bit this year. We'll see what they kind of do. Michigan could be there as well. Maryland. They're out there, obviously in Maryland as well. they have a history of going after these Baltimore guys, and Mike Locksley wants to keep a guy like this home. He might go out there and do that. So in terms of what Penn State will do, I think they'll probably, just work with Marcus Neal and Jamison Patton. Patton's more of a slot, but, he does play safety, and so we'll see what happens there. So, all right, let's move on to the final.